We're local to local. It's the third episode. We have some things to recap on and a lot of news for today.
Yeah, I'm Dwight. I'm from Hazard, Kentucky.
I'm uh, John, yeah, from Mobile, Alabama. And we're going to recap on a topic we talked about last time, Lakin Snelling, the University of Kentucky student who hid the infant body of, she hid it in a bag in her closet. We have the coroner's office, the Kentucky Lafayette coroner's office. They released a report. It's not concluded yet, I don't believe, though, but it is a partial. It's a statement, rather. We can go over
Right.
to our edge. This is the only picture I could actually find of it. But basically, it says, yeah, it was a male baby. Um, it's optimized. Its the findings are inconclusive. Extensive microscopic analysis are essential to determine the cause of marrow death. So it's going to be a little bit longer, I guess, even
Right.
since we're
So
going to figure
I
it out.
I believe the thing is they have to send it to Frankfurt in order for
Yeah.
them to actually do it because there's only one in Kentucky, I believe, for this kind of stuff.
And it says currently undetermined the manner of death, obviously. And the circumstances, I understand the community's concern and sensitivity around the death of a child. The death affects many lives in our neighboring state of Tennessee as well as the Commonwealth. We are currently conducting a thorough and methodical investigation of the death to ensure all facts are carefully considered. The death investigation remains open pending results. Says there was a Lexington from the actual Lexington, Kentucky city website, I guess the government site. It says one person has been arrested in connection with the death of the infant. That's the woman, Megan Snelling. She is currently being held or she was being held at the Fayette County Detention Center. She was moved after her bond was bailed. This is covered last time. Her bond was bailed. She's now in her home with no ankle bracelet or anything like that.
Right.
Well, they
Well, I
still
mean,
figure it out.
right. So I mean, they're still trying to figure it out. I mean, I figured they'd probably send it to the Capitol. That's generally what they do. Normally, I mean, if they figure that you die of a heart attack and there's nothing to suspect, then just call it that. But I mean, in these cases, they have to be very, very thorough. And so I actually looked at the law in Kentucky, and the law that was passed in 2022 for abortion states that a doctor can provide a abortion if it's medically necessary, or if a mother does take pills, right, or something like that, and they have self-abortion. That is, you cannot charge the mother. Essentially, is what it said. It said basically, in no way can you misconstrue this to charge the pregnant mother or whatever. And the only thing about that is whoever's sending you or giving you those pills to get that abortion, if it's a medical provider or anyone else, they can go to jail for 2 to 5 years.
Mhm.
So I mean, there's kind of these stipulations in there, but
And there's a lot of room in this case because obviously we don't know if it's an
Mhm.
abortion or just stillbirth, as well as the fact that she hid the body, desecrating it essentially. Because I mean,
Well,
you're
and I
wrapping it
wonder
naked.
if well, I mean, I wonder if she gave birth because I mean, hell, I mean, somebody must have heard it. I mean, it must have,
Yeah, to a degree, yeah.
it's. I mean, I don't know. I ain't a woman. I ain't never had birth, but I
It's
mean, just from
pretty
what people
painful
have
from what
told
I've
me,
heard.
other women, it's like, right,
It's
it's
not a
something that
walk in
you
the
just kind of
park.
slide out. Yeah, you don't slide that thing out like that.
But I mean, yeah, you don't slide it out, but people do often want to have another, so it can't be life threatening, or it is life threatening, but it can't feel that way, I guess, to a degree. Um, But yeah, that's as
That's
far as we know. She wrapped in a towel, put it in a black plastic bag, and hid in her closet. Was found, and now she is at her home. It's very interesting. Is she has no ankle bracelet or anything, especially being on bond. But judges tend to do that a little bit more recently, especially with a lot of things that are going on that we have to cover later. There's actually another one with no ankle bracelet, I believe.
hmm
Um, well, that's essentially all for that. Not much else on there till we get the official autopsy or coroner's
right.
report rather. We also want to talk about a few people in Mobile. I got a little bit more research on the people that were running for mayor: Drummond, Prine, Spiro. I didn't look into the last person, Hudson. She's a commissioner. Really not that interesting. I seen her ads. But the main people, this is JD Vance, wrong page. All right, we're going to talk about it in a minute. But this is Spiro. He's Republican. I looked into his page. He's Republican, and one thing I don't really like this much about a lot of these candidates is that when they talk about issues, they don't provide solutions. They just say that they're going to do it, and they don't really know how. You know, what I mean, Mayor says, "Oh, we'll fix the roads. We'll make it a little bit better." And he's got pictures of him fishing. I guess, you know, that's important. By the way, this guy's raised like I think 1.4 million
Yeah,
dollars.
yeah, those very important pictures right there.
$1.4 million. He's got a picture of fishing on the website. You know, and it's just it's very you know it's like, hey, I don't know how I'm going to do it. You know, I'm the mayor, but you know, smooth streets, political unity. I'm going to work with the ready city council. Okay, I mean, no, that's what Sandy
That's
Thompson
what
did.
your job is. It's the bare minimum. I think that politicians, look, being a politician is not about being right. It's about doing right. And so I assume that when you run for an office, that if you say things that align with my interests and I vote for you, I expect for you to do those things. And I expect for there to be at least some sort of plan or a structure that
Mm.
is ready to be investigated, detailed, and fulfilled. There has to be some sort of timeline idea. What you want to achieve, right? At least a list of actual goals. You just can't say, well, we got to repair the roads. What roads need to be repaired? What exactly
Yeah,
about these roads are wrong? What can we do to fix certain things about our roads, right? Can we do beautification? A lot of cities are taking up the opportunity to take center lanes and say, hey, well, let's make this road, right, more travelable. So they put plants and different types of stuff in the middle, and it also helps divert traffic. If you design your roadways better, and you try to incentivize walking and bike riding and stuff like
especially in a
that,
big city like
uh,
Mobile. Yeah, second biggest
right,
city in the entirety of Alabama.
it makes your roads safer, and it also gives people the opportunity to travel more in the city to get more business. I mean, walkable streets are going to have people walking on them, especially in a city with 200,000 people.
Yeah, and but like you're saying, yeah, political unity that's expected. And it's not like it's unheard of. I mean, Sandy Thompson, they had political unity when they ousted Paul Prine, who's another candidate in the race for out of his police chief position. Support like the most he goes on, I believe, in this entire thing is just supporting our first responders, investing in training equipment and the recruitment to keep Mobile safe. That's probably the most he goes into anything. I looked more through the website. Maybe if you get involved and become a campaigner or something that tell you a little bit more, maybe. But on his official website, I can't find anything. You know, focus on families. Okay, so more fun events, I guess, building community. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That kind of thing. And it really doesn't cover. And I'm just like, okay, well, I know if I go to the contribute page, it's gonna show me a lot of ways I can. It's I mean, look at this. I can choose the amount, how long, if you want to do it every month, this kind of thing. But you can't tell me how you plan on doing your bills. And he's raised $1.4 million, actually more than Barbara Drummond, who's the
Right.
other candidate for mayor. She's raised, I think, was 800,000. I want to say, and she's a current state representative for the 104th district. But like I believe actually has more. She actually has a whole. Yeah, look, here it is. Yeah, see, uh, because I mean, she actually has work. He was a judge. She's at least has congressional experience, even if it's on the state level. But yeah, the Workforce
Mhm.
Development Center, movie irrigation. These things, while I'm not really sure about either of them. Drummond seems to have a little more, going for positively. It is a bit laggy though. But
And
and
well, I think as long as the candidates actually, whatever she's outlined, and she says, well, hey, this is what we want to do. And when she's asked, how do you want to accomplish that? And she can answer that, that's good, right? This is what we expect out of our leaders is to be able to answer very simple, basic questions, right? And it doesn't necessarily have to be a very fine, definitive answer. It has to be an answer that helps us understand exactly what we're going to do, the path that we're going to go down, so we can say if we agree with it or not. You know, it, there's always planning involved, and not everyone is going to want to go through planning an entire thing, if especially when they don't win an election. But when they give you a list of things and a list of reasons why and a list of reasons how, you're a lot more comfortable in saying, huh, I think I trust this person.
Yeah, I'm looking at her page. I mean, on public safety, support well-trained community-oriented policing, invest in violence prevention and medical health response, improve emergency response technology, and she actually has things to back it up. As she opposed the Alabama permitless carry law in 2022, in light of the deadly violence in places like St. Theater, among other things, she actually has experience to go along with her statements, and she has one thing I did think was interesting when I was looking at the polling, she has a lead mostly black communities. Spiro has a lead mostly African American community or white communities rather, and Paul Prine, the former ousted police chief, he does well in both. Of course, actually, in the actual voting areas, most people that voted for Spiro were in Baptist churches, that kind of thing, and it's just very split. While Paul Prine tends to actually have both people. Well, I'm not sure how I feel about Paul Prine either. Paul Prine, he he's interesting to me. He was ousted as police chief. He actually filed a lawsuit against the residing mayor, or former mayor Sandy Stimpson. I think it's Stimpson. I can't remember. His name's pretty forgettable. I mean, Sandy, really.
Sure.
He followed a thing for slander among other things. This guy was also shot as a police officer in his early career, among other things. So it's he kind of catches my eye a little bit more. Drummond, I like that she actually has issues, and Spiro, I can't really wrap around Spiro. Like I said, it's just he's just kind of I
Well,
don't know, and he's
I
got a very
mean,
hard to pronounce name, Chiro Goddess. It's a long name.
if he's anything like Spiro Agnew, maybe we shouldn't trust him.
Yeah, yeah, and that's funny. My grandma said the exact same thing. Every time I would say Spiro, she's like Agnew. I'm like no, but maybe not a good association. But I mean, you can't do anything about your name, right?
Right.
Uh,
I
I,
mean, you can.
well, you can't. You can change it, like another person has many times. Mr. J.D. Vance. He's the
Mhm.
topic I want to talk about. Particular. Yeah, I've seen a lot of things about him, and I've sent you some things about him before. But J.D.
Mhm.
Vance is a interesting guy. He was a Marine Corps military journalist, and his first name was James Donald Bowman, and I believe he took the name of his grandma. I think he clarifies that in Hillbilly Elegy. But Hillbilly Elegy, among other things, was kind of a thing that he was pushed to make that would help him get elected. Because I mean, really, let's be real here. He's kind of not that interesting. Poor guy. That's about it. I guess that's you can relate to that, right? I mean, he's just kind of like a people's guy. But then you have to remember he's really not that much of a people's guy. This guy was given $15 million for a venture capitalist firm by Peter Thiel, the gay billionaire who was almost selected or was a selection for vice president in place of J.D. Vance. But they met in 2011, as this article reads. A venture capitalist, Peter Thiel, gave a speech at the university criticizing modern society, which is an interesting thing. Peter Thiel has a long history of controversy, not to mention Palantir. Palantir's a big one.
Yes.
And Palantir is the way they want to make a basically like a system, kind of like China has with the surveillance and the databases and the which we have databases and things like that. But this one, which it puts you in databases like if you're considered a threat, a domestic threat, that kind of thing, it'll put you in a box basically, and they'll monitor you, which is horribly concerning. And it's led by Peter Thiel, who has a connection, death connection to him, a model, and it's a bit weird. There's a lot of weird things for billionaire Peter Thiel. But yeah, he gave Vance $15 million to run for Senate, and this was 2019, and I believe 2019. $15 million is a lot of money, especially for a guy that's supposed to be this hillbilly elegy guy. Hillbilly is kind of in the name, and of course you can't get a Senate without a lot of
Well,
money,
I
but
mean,
it's a bit weird.
well, yeah. I think that JD Vance is he was kind of a little unknown until he was chosen by Donald Trump. And I mean, yeah, sure, people knew who he was perhaps, but
Yeah,
he has a lot of connections. And I mean, you talk about Peter Thiel, you talk about Palandor, and I mean it's
Palantir.
scary stuff. Yeah, Palantir, whatever. They watch you. I mean, they literally watch you from a satellite. I mean, they track your location. I mean, your phone, any electronic device, your car, even. I mean, they can track you. They see how fast you're going. They and they take these patterns. So what a lot of people do not understand, particularly about Meta and especially WhatsApp protected data until it was bought out.
Mm.
And that data was very essential for these big companies to take this data and market the stuff. Now they're doing stuff with AI, right? Where they're using AI pricing. They I was listening to NPR and the FTC, right? The Federal Trade Commission. By the way, who Trump fired the head of the FTC and dismantled the commission that was created in 2008 after the housing crisis to stop price gouging, right? Completely dismantled it. And I think it's important because the FTC did an investigation and they found that yes, when you walk into Target, the prices on your phone when you go on their app changes to be more expensive than when you're outside of the store. You can literally sit on the app, walk inside the store, look at an item, and walk outside, and the price will change. And a lot of companies are doing this. They investigated 8 companies who called themselves like price adjusters, things like that. 8 of these companies serviced over 250 companies. I mean, companies like I think they were saying TJ Maxx, big stuff like that, right? Beauty retailers, everything. I mean, Fortune 500 companies, Walmart, Amazon, all of it. And it's targeting people. So I mean, you might go on the thing and it might be $32 for you, and then your husband or your wife goes on it and looks at the exact same thing and it's $24 for them. I mean, that's completely unfair. And I think that we have to be aware of this kind of changing atmosphere because Trump, in recent legislation, uh, he wanted to prevent states from making it illegal to essentially say you can't
This was the
prevent
big,
AI. He
yeah,
basically
the
did
AI, the
not
big
want them
beautiful
to
bill,
prevent AI.
correct?
I think it
I believe
was.
it was the big beautiful bill
I
that covered the
Yes.
banning AI. I think that was actually cut out of the legislation, though. I believe, right?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, he wanted it to actually where they couldn't ban it. That's what he
Yeah,
wanted.
exactly. But it's very concerning that they want to not ban it. AI is being used for a lot of things, and you have to remember, like, it's not just like it's not just the price changing on your phone, or whatever. I think about like you ever talk about something that pops up on your phone, all of a sudden you scroll and your feed changes on
Mm-hmm.
TikTok, and it shows you're looking at a game or you're watching a movie, you're talking about some politics, something like that. It's very weird how your phone picks up on it. Your phone is a little box that these companies like Palantir and the government like to use to listen, to monitor, to use all kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
It's very weird. Uh,
Very weird. They
we were talking about JD Vance. JD Vance again. This guy. Yeah, and every time I see those pictures, it's hard to like look at his normal face because every time you see those all those edited pictures with the long hair, or he's got the really big eyes, or he's like a cyclops, that kind of thing. Yeah, it's always a weird jump back to see how he actually looks. But yeah, he has an interesting history with him. And if we actually look at his contribution page from 2019-24, whether he was running for Senate, we can actually look again, Republican Jewish Coalition, and NORPAC. These two are very similar to APAC, which is basically an Israeli. Uh, they give money so you support Israel, and maybe not directly APAC, for example, but there's definitely other systems at hand. Blackstone is another big one. This is a split off group that was originally owned by BlackRock, I believe, or something along those lines. Blackstone buys up single family households, that kind of thing. One of the Blackstone CEOs was shot in that one shooting recently. It was in New York, and they claimed he went after the NFL. We talked about this once. But Blackstone giving him $23,000. It's a lot of money. And these are so much money. This is a lot of people's average income. Maybe it's not the median. Maybe it's not the average, but this is a lot of people's incomes that they're giving to one guy, so that he can benefit them in any way. Uh, Central Community.
Well, and I think it's important for people to understand that these groups, especially companies, right? And I think it was in 2009, the Supreme Court said, hey, corporations are separate legal entities. They're people. Therefore, they have their own rights, right? So they can donate all the money that they want. It's essentially what that says, right? And I can't remember exactly what it was, but I think it was in 2009. And it had particularly to do with PACs and corporations.
Mm-hmm.
And even what was it called? They had like the all these legislators were had a entire thing that they could go on and look at all this legislation that was written by companies like Walmart and Amazon and all those other retailers. God, I forgot what it was called. Um, but it's things like that, right? I mean, it's very interconnected. There has been warnings by Dwight D. Eisenhower before in his farewell speech about the military-industrial complex, and we see it even broader, right? We see it in the in an entire economy. We see that corporations are using the government in order to manipulate the consumer into basically doing whatever they want, right? Uh, they can get us to do whatever they want us to do as long as they can tell us it's good for us.
Another thing I just noticed as I was looking through the many PAC donations, which is inherently a odd thing that are different groups. Of course, there's money. Money is needed to run for elections, obviously, but it's very weird how many different groups, companies, things which maybe you don't agree with, but many companies and they give these people money. Teal Capital caught my eye. We were just talking about a certain guy named Peter Thiel who gave $15 million. Again, $10,000. Uh, Teal Capital was owned and founded by Peter Thiel in 2011. Gave him $10,000. Things like that. And like for example, Be Victorious Over Democrats PAC, political action committees, things like this. There's so many of these things, and maybe some of these are little companies. Very often they're not. And like maybe you look at like for Alabama, for example, I believe a few of them are sponsored by little companies, that kind of thing. But most of these are major companies, or like for like Hal Rogers, Boeing, that kind of thing. These are major companies, billion-dollar companies, million-dollar companies, that kind of thing, and they give these politicians money. And do you think that this money is just so that because they like the politician?
No.
No, it's because they need the politician because they can buy the politician, and that money, all it does is basically influence this JD Vance, it influences so and so, and all of this really and truly is just a lead up so that JD Vance can be president. And I don't like JD
Yeah.
Vance. It's very weird. Like when he raised the water levels, we had the Army Corps of Engineers raise water levels so he'd go down a river. What? No man,
Mhm.
no single man. I don't care if he's the vice president, the president. He could be just anybody, right? He has no reason to be able to raise water levels, redistributing water over just so he could enjoy his birthday weekend or whatever it was that he was going on. Uh, among other things, he's very fishy. All the name changes, which may have like a certain aspects to where they're like, okay, that makes sense. All the name changes, all the people that have invested in him, Peter Thiel especially, like Palantir, and then for example, Trump's big move for Palantir, working with Palantir, because Trump is not out of the picture. Even when Trump is no longer able to run, it's not like he's going to disappear. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
The MAGA has taken over the Republican Party in a way that's really bad. I mean, MAGA holds a stern grip over the entire party, and it disilludes people from the entire party in general. Of course,
Well,
you say,
I think. Go ahead.
oh, I mean, you say I think. You say what you're gonna say.
Well, I think that it's very true. I think the Republican Party as a whole has kind of lost hold on exactly what we're trying to achieve. You see, Republicans have a problem with disagreeing with each other a little bit too much and forgetting exactly what the other party is trying to do. The other party is saying, well, we disagree with each other, but the Republicans and the other side, right? That's how they see it. The other side. They also are our enemy. So let's work together. But Republicans don't see it that way. They want to debate about it and they want to talk about what they want and particulars and the fine details. They don't say, well, hey, let's get what we want as a group and then we'll debate
And then
amongst
yeah, and then
ourselves.
we'll figure out what we want as a group, and that's an issue. I mean, how you look over the
Right.
Democrats, they have all these different. There's like these what Bill Clinton was more conservative Democrats, at least early in the 1992, that kind of thing. All these different Democrats. You have much more maybe anarchists and that kind of thing. But it doesn't matter if they're an anarchist or if they're just hey, maybe I want people to be a little bit more fed. That kind of thing. Uh, it
Mhm.
doesn't matter what groups like. Yeah, they work together. On the Republican side, we have people. We have all these different groups. Log cabin Republicans, for example, gay Republicans. We have all these different groups, and all of them hate each other. All of them.
Mhm.
I mean, hell, even state by state, the parties don't work with each other because they don't like each
Well,
other.
I think it's very important for America to very much consider a third party, a major third party. There has to be a three-party system. The two-party system is killing America. I think that our founding fathers intended for us to evolve as the world evolved. Our founding fathers created a system of government which was not particularly seen. And I say that because every other government in the world was founded saying, we're the government and you're the people. But the America was founded saying, we're the people and we create the government. And
Hmm.
it's that unique thinking that I think projected us into having a constitution that we can change and that we can amend, and we
Many
have
times.
corrected some of the wrongs, right? And we've kind of forgotten about that. I mean, we haven't changed an amendment since the 90s. And we seriously have to consider, what is the future of America? Are we remembering what we did? Ronald Reagan, right? Remember, he said, if we forget what we did, we won't know who we are.
Yeah, even if you think the
And
guy said that the devil incarnate, he had a lot of things he said that was right. I mean, my broken clock is right twice a day.
right, I agree. I mean, I think people just have to get on to actually saying, hey, what is this about? Hey, what are we going to do? Hey, what have we done? And who's been held accountable? I mean, hey,
Hmm.
people don't really know this, but Martin Luther King was killed by the government. I mean, it's not conspiracy theory, it's proven
Yeah, I mean,
in
they
the
went to
court of
court.
law.
His family went to court against the FBI, and they were like, "Yeah, no, it was us." You know,
Hmm.
I mean, and like, there were so many things. Like when they cut down the tree that was right in front of where the guy was, the guy that supposedly shot MLK couldn't have even made the shot till after they cut down the tree the morning after. Yeah, it's
Hmm.
just, it's so. There's so many things. I mean, a lot of our great leaders, many people were killed, or like for example, like why if JFK was just killed by one guy, why did every single file that was released be blacked out almost entirely? Right?
Hmm.
It's very weird. Lots of weird things like that.
Oh wow, guys, don't mention all this stuff that we're not going to tell you about. You know, and also the original FBI report said the rifle was some Italian junk rifle, and it obviously wasn't. And that was strange. There's when you look at the JFK, the RFK, and the MLK assassinations, I I feel like this trio here
The
has
government
a
doesn't like
connection.
three-letter names.
Right. There you go.
That's all it is. Yeah.
But J. Edgar Hoover particularly disliked MLK. Uh,
Hmm.
but I think
They
that
even wrote a
MLK,
letter telling him to kill
RFK,
himself.
and right, and JFK, I think all three of them kind of were on the same wavelength when it came particularly to what they wanted in change and how they wanted to get it. They wanted to get it honestly.
Of course,
Uh,
different degrees. JFK was a
right.
little bit more stagnant. RFK was very he wanted things. I mean, hell, he went on the tours around America. He met the poorest communities, and that's what made him
Mhm.
get these things done. And really, I really like that. I wish we had more politicians that did that because I don't know if like I notice a lot of these politicians. I mean, hell, maybe Trump goes to a town with like 30,000 people. He's like, oh, I went to a small town. None of these
Mhm.
politicians go to small towns where people are suffering, towns where people are, like when was the last time a presidential candidate went to Flint, Michigan? I mean, really. Hey, well, I want to take a sip of the water down here? No, no, I don't even want to go there. I don't want to be around you poor people because all these people are
Mhm.
millionaires. I mean, maybe America doesn't need an underdog every single election, but an underdog would be nice to come in and go to the little town and see the little people and actually win and not get shot in the head like RFK.
Mhm. Right. And I think uh it's very paramount for everyone to look into who is running. Local, state, and federal elections all matter. The
Very
president
much.
matters, but
Mayor
so does
matters too.
everything else. Right. I mean, every single legislative body and judicial branch matters because these are the people that are affecting not only your daily lives or the economic policies, but these judges that you elect are directly affecting how
Hmm.
your state sees certain legislation. So a judge who may see things in a very particular way about law enforcement and qualified immunity may say, well, I actually disagree with this court decision right here. We're going to overturn this. And we're going to say, well, officers, have this extent for qualified immunity, stuff like that. I mean, you have to look at what this person has done. What have they voted for? What if they've held an office? What have they voted for?
Who
What have they done
owns
in that
them?
office?
That's another thing. If they're not
Right?
owned,
Who owns them?
That's a lot. It's a lot of politicians. I feel like people they vote for somebody, they hear somebody, and like in hell, even in major elections where it's not you don't really have a good choice between either between Trump and Kamala. You have to like for example that people are like, well, it's he's the lesser of two evils. And as every day goes on, I start to wonder, was he really the lesser of the two evils? Kamala, her laugh was weird. She had like reparations in her policy thing. But last time I checked, she never spoke about scuttling spaceships, or scuttling satellites rather that gave bad data,
Mhm.
and that's one thing that's really an issue is that we put Trump in, and it's like we became brain numb, like the Republican Party became brain numb, to just everything that
Mhm.
he's done in the past. I mean, now he said grab her by the pussy. That's a really bold statement. He says somebody's doing the raping. I mean, who's doing the raping? Somebody's doing it. And it's like we look at this guy who's been found liable for rape, by the way. It's a little bit, it's like, well, maybe you are, right, buddy?
Right. Okay. Yeah. Maybe you are, Mister. And I think this is what really has to change about Republicans is that younger people have to say, hey, the older guys who don't want to change, who want to continue to blindlessly support anything that any conservative puts in front of you, the era of politics is done.
Mhm.
Uh, and I believe that there are conservatives in this world who are poor, and who are not extreme, right? Who are middle ground
Most of them
and who
are.
are like any other American, right? And I think that if they felt more of the ability to say what they think and to come to the table and talk to people, and the same thing for everyone else, right? If they felt more comfortable to do that with people who they disagreed with, we would have America that would talk about politics at the dinner table,
and uh,
and
and
that's
and
what we need.
especially politics without arguments. You can talk
Hmm.
politics, but the era of Trump yelling at his opponents, calling them names, things like that, that only started with Trump, really and truly. Of course, maybe there was times, maybe a moment in 1992, whenever, or 1996 when Bob Dole or whatever said something a little bit, he said something a little bit provocative. It's like, oh, he said this. Well, Trump's calling, he's talking about people's wives and things like that, calling them ugly, and or we get to the dinner table and people are yelling and screaming and disowning their kids and fighting up with breaking up with families. You're breaking up with your husband because he believes the Republican ideologies and things like that. And it's like, okay, we have to slow down from the extreme that we're hitting. We used to be at a low. We were kind of like imagine like a little wheel or maybe like a half moon. We were on one, so like your gas mage. We were down there at full. We're all right. We're doing good. And now at 2016, we're nearing empty on just the calmness. There's nothing left. Our president yells at people in press conferences. The Homeland Security Director, she has a senator literally detained in a place that he's allowed to be. We have this guy. We have all these crazy things, and then at home, it's affecting us just as much. We have people yelling and fighting, and we had to have civil discussion, civil and politics, because hell, maybe you don't want abortion, and the person you're arguing with does want abortion, or something like that, something extreme that really gets people's feelings up in the air, but that doesn't give you the right to yell
Hmm.
at them.
Right. I think that America was founded by a bunch of people who completely disagreed with each other, and you can make the argument that they're a bunch of rich owning white men, but they still disagreed with each other.
How they hate each other
And
because of their religion,
right,
and they
and
were all Christian.
and it's important to realize that although they had all this conflict, they still managed to achieve something that was not perfect, but something that has lasted. Right? I mean, in 2026, America will be 250 years old. Right?
Hmm.
I mean, that's an accomplishment. I mean, we are a quarter millennia, and I think to kind of commemorate that, people have to look back at what our founding fathers were doing in the Continental Congress and the first Continental Congress, which they didn't really do much. But the second one, they did a lot. And looking at that, look at what Alexander Hamilton and John James, or what was his name, James John, whatever, J. Johns, J.
John
Jam,
Hancock,
John, no, John James. I don't know. They're all weird names.
whoever he was.
Yeah, the people that wrote the Federalist Papers, mostly Hamilton.
Yeah,
Uh,
big ham.
I mean, read it because those are exactly, he's explaining to you in the Federalist Papers why we need each part of the Constitution. If you don't understand the Constitution, read the Federalist Papers, you'll understand it. it breaks down why everything is needed. And yes, things have changed, but when you understand what our founding fathers were trying to achieve, and they even have back doors to get rid of the electoral process for a popular vote. There is a back door for that. It's a little hidden document I completely forgot the name of, but I think we can find it online. Uh, but stuff like that, right? They thought about this,
Hmm.
and we have to kind of look at that and say, huh, if they thought about it, what are we doing now that we can change, or that we need to change, or that has to go along with the times? Or
Hmm.
times are changing very fast, and we have to as well.
Constantly, our constitution will get outdated. I mean, it always gets outdated. That's why we fix this. We have the ability to change it. I mean, that's why we had new
Hmm.
laws. I mean, hell, and that's why we have laws in general. We have the Supreme Court to interpret things, and then we are a political court, which I really think it's. I always think it's weird that the Supreme Court is politically biased. You know, I mean, it's very odd. A
Hmm.
Republican leaning Supreme Court makes decisions that affect everyone in the entire country. It's okay. It's a little bit. It just seems a little bit odd. Um, but I was going to say something and I can't remember what I was going to say. But like, oh, I remember. We basically, well, my idea is, I think this is that, in the time that we're in now, we have to remain civil. We had to be civil. We had to be calm. Hell, if you don't do if you hate this person's guts, you still gotta be calm. I mean, you can talk things because it's still your neighbor. It's still the person
Hmm.
across from you, and you gotta do things. And in a time that we're in, we need a lot more MLKs and a lot less Malcolm X's. But if times continue, we need a lot more Malcolm X's and a lot less MLKs. You know what I mean? That's kind of how I view it. We need calms with extremes behind them, but we'll need extremes with a calm goal in the future.
I think that it's something that has changed a little bit. And I think that race still plays a part very heavily in politics.
Heavily.
Although I think that the issues have slightly adjusted themselves. It's no longer particularly about the color of your skin, while although a large majority of them are people of color, right? Particularly in the inner city or people in poverty. It's about poor people. Poor people don't understand finances a lot of the times. They don't learn about finances. Their parents didn't understand finances. They don't have any savings. And it's those kind of things that set you up for failure when you don't learn about how credit
And no
works.
one tries to teach you how.
Right. And that's kind of part of their plan, right? That's the reason why they don't teach it
Yeah, if
too
you
well in
don't
school.
know, if
They
you
don't
don't know, you're
know how to
gonna
win the lottery.
continue working. I mean, you're gonna be the little worker for Amazon. You're gonna be a little worker for whatever Walmart, that kind of thing, the rest of your life because you don't know.
Hmm. Well, yeah, they don't encourage you to think outside of the box. It's all about doing it how we teach you. And I think it's like you look at countries like China, and man, they're teaching these little kids how to do all types of multiplication in their head.
You ever look at the
And
Chinese math team? Or the
I
or,
mean,
right, not the Chinese math team, excuse me, but the United States math team. They got the token white guy on there because everybody they're all Asian because they're really good at math because these countries, that kind of thing, they bring over here, they bring these immigrants who were raised with the system and they force it onto their
it's a
children.
value system.
It's a value system, and it works, and that's why and it's a stereotype that a lot of Asians are smart, but the ones on these math teams, they are smart because they were put through this rigorous education that maybe their parents went through, and hell, maybe if they didn't, but their parents went through it, and they want it to be on their kids too, and it creates really smart kids, and we don't have that. We get a lot of dumb kids, a lot of kids who break things, who throw chairs at the teacher, who complain and yell and holler, and all kinds of things like that.
Holler, that's a good one right there. Holler.
Yeah.
Just hollering away.
It's just hollering away. I mean, hell, I mean, my classroom, whenever I was in Panama City, my classroom is right next to the detention room, and a lot of hollering. These people, and all I'm saying is I've never seen an Asian in detention, at least at my schools. I've never seen that. Uh,
Yeah.
they have a lot more. I'm just, I mean, it's a little bit stereotypy, but hey, they have a lot of values that I think we could pick up on generally.
Hmm. Well, I mean, my mother actually is from the Philippines, and so I'll say this: my mom is a very hard worker. All she knows is work. All she knows is work. All she knows is work and watch her damn QVC or whatever, and her damn Filipino shows. You know, speak Tagalog and to her sister all the time and shit talk me. Whatever. I don't know what she did when I was a kid. I didn't really understand it then. So she probably did. I think my aunt didn't like me very much. Well, I know she didn't, but that's okay. I don't know. She didn't like my dad, man. She put it out on me. Um, and my stepmom actually is from China. And we talk about values, man. Her dad uh taught her about real estate and stuff. She said that when she was 16, her dad said, "Here is $250,000. Go buy a house." And she thought she was going to live in this house. Well, she bought a house. It was beautiful and everything. And he said, "Okay, I'll sell it." And she said, "Okay, oh, what? Okay." And she said she had it on there for like 5 days, and she sold it for $12,000 more. But they said that it taught her a valuable lesson in patience. But she said that her father's always been the kind. He never really talks. He's always about work. Her uncle's always done the talking, for the business and everything. He's just done the work. And the way that she's explained it to me is that the older generation in China are very deeply rooted in that system, right? In that very traditional value system. And the middle generation, which she's a part of, respects that and their view, particularly on government. And the newer generation, which we see a lot in the news, are the people who disagree with Xi Jinping and,
And we need a
the
lot of that.
anti-communist.
We need a good mixture of both. Maybe not so much the Xi
Mhm.
Jinping respect, but we do need the work ethics, that kind of thing, while still
Right.
having the political open mindedness and the political disagreements.
Right, I agree. Right, I mean, we should not oppress political views. I mean, even extremist views have a place in our society, and that's because our society will never truly accept those. Even if a small percentage of them say whatever they want to say, as long as they say it and they don't do it. I mean, what's the
And
harm? They're
that's what
never
we
going to
have the
win any
government
of these
for, is because
because
they stop the
we're
people.
because I believe that normal Americans are normal and competent enough to say, "Hey, I don't agree with eradicating a whole group of people. We're not up for that." Because we're America. I mean, what would America be if we started eradicating groups of people? I mean, we literally fought against Nazi tyranny. You
Yeah,
know,
and we have to continue that aspect. And hell, maybe it's not us doing the eradicating, but we have to stop eradication. I mean, look at the Palestinian people. They're being pretty much wiped off the face of the earth for what, really? A single group of Hamas, what people, the government that controls Gaza, and they use that
Mhm.
as the ploy to wipe out an entire group of people, and that's insane. I mean, so many people's lives have been lost, so much culture. I mean, how many stories do you think these people had that they could have passed down? How many children? How many little doctors, little scientists? How maybe even just little McDonald's workers, for all I know? How many people have we lost because the U.S. never stepped in? I mean, and how many more will be gone if we continue not to step in? We have to be that shining golden light at the end of the tunnel for these little countries like that, and that's what we've always been. I mean, how we saved the Jews, or well, a lot of us did not. Maybe, of course, there was other countries that involved whatever, blah blah blah. We nuked Japan, that kind of thing. So yeah.
Well, I mean, that's the way to put it. Yeah,
I you know, I mean, we have to act, and we have to use this golden light that we have, and we cannot let this golden light be shrouded by big companies like Boeing and Northrop Grumman and Lockheed Martin, and
That's
this golden the
exactly what
golden light gets
Eisenhower was talking about.
exactly the golden light gets smaller and smaller and smaller, and it's got all these logos covering up everything, and then these little children that want to see that golden light, all they see is Boeing, and then they get dropped by a bomb on their head, and it's like, okay.
Right, exactly. And also General Electric, that makes the big machine gun that goes on the A-10
Oh, hey,
Warthog.
yeah, 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 yeah. Your washing machine. Well, they support the military industrial complex.
It's a wonderful thing American capitalism is.
It
You
is.
know, I really think that it is so tragic that America is literally like supposed to be the protector of freedom, and then they're always like, yeah, we installed this very brutal dictator, by the way,
Yeah.
and then he said some stuff we didn't like
So we
in the
killed him.
UN. So we blew his brains out. Yes,
Yeah, yeah,
exactly.
like I mean, Saddam Hussein, Batista, or
Gaddafi.
Gaddafi, Batista, Saddam Hussein. There's so many of them, and then we wonder, oh, well, we blew up the leader's head, who maybe disagreed with us, but he was still a good guy, or maybe not, for example, for someone
Yeah,
like Saddam.
not particularly.
Not particularly a good guy, but he had at least he had the people's goal in mind. I mean, especially
Well, I
for
mean, Gaddafi's whole thing was, I mean, you support terrorism. Why not? Why can't I? They're helping me.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe not always, but I mean, there was people. I mean, like, you know, and I had to look into this, but there's definitely people out there, and even all these horrible people, they still did good things, and then they blew up their heads, and then they said, okay, well,
Well, I mean, he did support, I mean, Gaddafi still did support terrorist groups. I mean, but it's like America does it too. So it's like any
yeah,
group in
yeah. I mean, hell,
America
every person that
accuses
hates
of doing
us,
that
every
is
country over there that hates
self-hypocritical.
us, all of their terrorist groups were given $1 billion by the CIA, a limitless check, a limitless bank account off in Sweden or something like that, and they said, okay, you know, whenever you need another nuclear bomb or another missile, just sign right here. You know, they said that to the leader of whatever Hamas or the Taliban or you know anything like that. You know, like when Reagan gave those missiles, and then you know he got that guy court-martialed or whatever over it. Yeah, that was a fun time.
Mhm.
And then that guy works for Fox News, so yeah, testified before
Oh,
Congress. What's his name? He has a skit
oh,
on American Family.
Lee North.
Oh,
Lee
Lee North.
North.
Yeah,
Oliver North, that's his name.
yeah. The hero of the little cocaine smuggling group over there that created the Taliban or whatever.
The Contras.
Yeah, the
Uh,
Contras.
well, the Contras was in Central South America.
Mm-hmm.
It was
Exactly. The Iran
Panama.
Contra affair. Yes.
Yeah, it was in Panama. They were it turns out that they were smuggling
Cocaina.
cocaine and blowing up children with landmines on accident.
Accidents. You know, it's always an accident. You know, oh, Israel, we bombed 4 hospitals. Oopsies, Hamas was underneath the oopsies. Or like when they blew up the Catholic hospital, they said Hamas was using the Catholic hospital to hide their nuclear bombs or whatever they had under their, you know, their 500-pound missiles that were made of children or whatever, you know, Israel likes to push tomorrow. They're like, yeah, actually, these giant bombs were underneath this church, and we had to blow it up and kill everybody inside. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm sorry. Look,
I'm
I
sorry I killed
know
the 3-year-old.
Look, the little kid was giving information to Hamas, so we had to blow him up. And that's basically their
Yeah, isn't that the
summarization.
same thing they said about the USS Liberty in Egypt?
Yeah, they're like, yeah, well, it was an oops days. I mean, there was bad guy. You know, and
Yeah.
America says, oh, my Lord and Savior Israel, it's okay, my darling, it's okay. You didn't do anything wrong. It was all our fault, actually. I can't wait to eat bugs by 2030. What is it? The World Economic Forum. That's
The
bad.
World Economic Forum. Oh yes, the yearly meeting of all the rich guys who are going to plan to take over the world, like Bill
By
Gates.
2030, we're
Can
gonna
we
all
pull
be
up the
eating
quote where
bugs.
Bill Gates is talking about? Yeah, can we pull up the quote where Bill Gates said the world would be better off with only 1 billion people or whatever? What
I'll
did he say
look.
about that? I know he said it.
Well, you know, hell, I'm sure Bill Gates probably gets bullied a little bit whenever he eats too many of the infant babies at the billionaire meetup. You know, he eats too many of them, and they
Mhm.
or whatever goes on there. We don't know. Probably something like that. I can't find this quote that you said, but I'm sure he probably said that. You know, like doesn't he own a
Yeah, he
bunch
said
of
something like
water?
that.
Doesn't he own like in like California or something like that? He
He
owns
owns
a bunch of
500,000 acres of farmland for fake meat. He says.
well, you know, me too, man.
Look that up. Look that up.
12,000 heads of cow my way, right? Bill Gates, farmland. He finally explains why he owns. Okay, never mind. I don't know. I can't find this. It's mostly YouTube videos. But yeah, he's also. I hate that McDonald's is brought into everything. But he owns 270,000 acres of farmland.
Kind of same thing. 500,000, 270. It's a lot.
It's a lot, regardless. We also we've spiraled a smidge. You know,
Hmm.
we did want to talk about. There was a recent stabbing of. I don't know if I can pronounce her name. I'll bring up the article though. She was a Ukrainian refugee. Iryna Zarutska, I maybe perhaps I'm not sure that's pronounced his name. She was killed by DeCarlos Brown, this fellow right here, and the footage I believe just shows him literally walking up and just stabbing her. Correct, and she walks away.
Yeah. Well, he's sitting behind her, and he essentially just kind of sits there for a minute around, and they all kind of move. And it's weird to think that because I mean I'm from North Carolina, and my dad has lived in Charlotte for so long, and I know many people who still live in Charlotte, and it's just so weird to see something like this and nobody react. I mean, you would think that someone would do something, but I think that I mean it's like what they're saying, right? It's it's a Daniel's Penny thing, right? They're scared of being
Mhm.
prosecuted for do something to protect the general public.
And we
If you know,
also
if you remember that case.
Yeah, I'll cover that in a moment. There's also for the post millennial magistrate judge Teresa Stokes is not qualified to practice as a lawyer in the state of North Carolina. She is the person who let DeCarlos Brown on a cashless bail the last time he got into engagement with the law. Who DeCarlos Brown is already a several convicted person, I believe. He's been convicted over and over again.
Mhm.
But yeah, he stabbed 23-year-old refugee. But yeah, he was released on a cashless bail the last time. She's not even allowed to do that, or she's not at least not a lawyer. She's not even a qualified lawyer, at least.
It says that that magistrates do not have to be a licensed lawyer according to state law.
Very interesting,
Lord, well,
and cashless bail, and guess what happens now? And he stabs the guy. But like you said, yeah, it stretches back to Daniel Penny. Daniel Penny was found not guilty. Daniel Penny is a veteran, I believe the Marines. I want to say, and he put a Jordan
Mhm.
Neely, a 30-year-old man, in a chokehold, and he passed away. And it was actually because this was not, I believe this was not really long after, or it was a little bit after, but yeah, it's 2020, 4 years after George Floyd. Circumstances that were claimed to be similar, very different though. George Floyd had died from the same thing, but basically, in this case, he chokehold a guy who was being, crazy on a bus, a drug addict, 30-year-old homeless drug addict. And they brought out the whole 9 yards whenever this happened. They started using pictures of him when he was young. They got his father out to basically say, how terrible it was. Here's the picture they used. He was 30 years old. This is an old picture. You can tell how the quality of the picture itself dates it. They brought out a
Oh,
picture of
right.
him. It's young.
Early 2000s.
Yeah, they brought out like he was at least like in like maybe early 20s at most. He was 30 years old and homeless by the time he was doing this. He
Mhm.
died. Um, but he was found not
But
guilty.
he
But yeah, Jordan Neely's father, and chance of no justice, no peace. Maybe he shouldn't have been doing that on the bus, or whatever it was. And of course, it always ends up with some racial division, and things like this.
it's always about one of them's white and the other one's black.
And
Right,
that's
but
how it always is.
when it's a person of color who commits the crime, they're so much more hesitant
Well, because
to.
yeah, because it's there's so much water around it. It's very, very no one wants to get canceled. No one wants their career ruined. No one wants to get fired. No one wants this. No one wants that. And
Mhm.
when this happened, of course, there was no justice, no peace, that kind of thing. It was similar whenever, but not the same. And they compare it to George Floyd. George Floyd, and there's always race division too, because how the media presents it, right? Fox News will say,
Mhm.
for example, George Floyd, right? Fox News would say, yes, well, George Floyd had all these drugs in his system and he overdosed and died. CNN will say he was choked to death because he sat on his neck. And the every person that testified was like, yeah, he died from asphyxiation, or whatever the term is for choking, and not the drugs. He had drugs in his system, but he was a long time drug user. He could handle the drugs that were in his system, including the fentanyl, and he died from not being able to breathe, which is actually it is you can talk, while choking. I mean, like maybe not when you choke on food, for example, but someone's pushing on your back, making it hard because they examined it. He was pushing on his back. It was constricting his lungs, among other things. This is a really big man,
Mhm.
that kind of thing. So you have to imagine he's already big enough. I mean, imagine laying on your back. It's like a 6'4" whatever man. And you have a guy who's also big, a full grown man, putting his entire body weight on your back, and you're supposed to be able to breathe fine while on the concrete or the asphalt.
Right. Well, you're on your stomach, right?
On your
And they're
stomach,
putting it
yeah.
on your back. Okay.
But
I
yeah,
mean, I mean, it's stuff like this that really drives the initiative for people to kind of take political lines and have this tribalistic behavior when it comes to politics and the stories in the media and the way that we perceive those things. And so I think it's very important for people to say, hey, well, let's look at the facts of the case. And, let's not be quick to draw conclusions because there are still things to be determined, not in this case in particular, but
Yeah,
when it
because
comes to other
he just
things.
stabbed her in the neck, but other things like that, and but you have to remember all that the news does is, I mean, Fox News isn't even a news corporation anymore. CNN is still a news corporation, but that doesn't mean they don't spread a lot of division. Every news station besides maybe like Reuters and like Newsmax, that kind of thing, no one cares about. Uh, those ones maybe they won't, but big stations they'll always push something, an agenda, and if you look into the families who owns them, you start to realize why. And then that's a that's a steep slope I might skip over. Um,
Mhm.
but they're all pushing division because they want division, and all this division does is aid the rich people. You know what I mean? That's all it does, really and truly. And poor people are now more divided. They hate each other. They're still working dead end jobs, and they can't unite against the common enemy. You know what I mean? If your white neighbor and your black neighbor hate each other, they're not going to work together when your house is burning down. They're going to be sitting across the street at each other, being all mad while your house is burning to the ground.
Yep.
You know, and maybe that's a bit extreme or maybe a bit silly of a way to put it, but they're going to hate each other while you're still having the issue, and that's the issue. You can't have all these division, and that's all it does. It pushes division, and people are in these poor communities, and they're told these things, and it's passed down division from years and years and years and years, and that's it. And all it does is, well, we're divided. The rich get richer, and the poor stay poor, and
Of
maybe even get
course,
poorer.
they're always getting rich.
And that's all they do. I mean, hell, I mean, you can have all this money. You get all these money, like Jeff Bezos having this really big wedding with his like what 12-year-old wife or whatever. uh, yeah, how old was
Eh,
she? Like 20, something like that. He's like turned like 50 or something. Big age gap. Whatever. And they, it's just that. And and that's the one thing I always think is interesting. It's like oh, well, we can't tax them. We can't because it's all internet money or whatever. It's net worth. It's
It's
this.
all
It's
in it,
that.
money.
It's all fake money. It's all net worth. But then he pulls out like $12 billion to buy two yachts and have a big wedding in Venice. And they're like,
Uh
oh,
huh.
it's like, oh, well, what are we gonna do, man? He just did it too fast. The government couldn't catch him. As if he doesn't pay congressmen and that kind of thing, uh, through PACs. And how many donations do you think old Jeff Bezos has made to different people?
Well, he owns the Washington Post, so.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, Washington Post. That's a big one. Uh, you know,
Hmm.
um, or like whenever Trump had all those billionaires supporting him, Elon Musk, I think Jeff Bezos was in there, all kinds of stuff like that. It's like, okay, well, maybe big old Trump's owned by Daddy Bezos and Daddy Elon and everything like that. You have to wonder, and we were talking about this earlier, with Trump, and
Hmm.
it's like, yeah, he's scary, man. Yeah, I wouldn't want to go near the guy. And
He's
it's not that
he's a
he's
little
it's not
orange.
it's not that he's intimidating. It's like he's a melting popsicle. Uh,
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
I'd be scared I'd catch the orange sickness, man. I'd
He's like
turn.
he's like the color that your heart apparently turns. Yeah, I heard this apparently that your heart turns
I
orange
think I've
like the
seen that.
boxing
Yeah,
strips.
and it's very weird. It's like he's weird. He's owned literally by everybody. I mean, everybody's got a share of Trump, pretty much. Yeah, imagine like a corporation. Israel's
I
got a
mean,
big
except
chunk.
himself.
The billionaires have big chunks. Uh, and everything like that. It's just like, okay, well, I mean, like hell, I mean, who do we support, right? I mean, Kamala, she was owned by Israel too. So I mean,
They're all fucking owned
everybody's
by
owned by
Israel.
Israel. And if you're running for president, the last person to not be supported by Israel was John Fortnite Kennedy. So, or not
John
not
Fortnite
Fortnite,
Kennedy.
John
Go.
Fitzgerald. Oh God, I was thinking of the that joke. There was like a joke.
Well, I honestly think that was actually the intention for his middle name. It fits very well.
Yeah,
John Fortnite
Fitzgerald's kind
Kennedy.
of a
I
little
mean,
lame. You know what I mean?
yeah, I
Spice it
agree. It's
up.
sort of
But yeah,
old name.
it does. Yeah, Fortnite. Maybe with a Night, maybe something like that.
Hmm.
But he just he's like pretty much the last one. Or hell, I mean even Truman. Truman and established Israel. and everything.
John 2 Week Kennedy.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, John was the last guy. I mean, all what he did was he was like, "Yeah, I want the checks on Israel. I want this. I want that." And then his head popped off, and they gave him a closed funeral. And Jackie
He's
Kennedy got to watch LBJ play in office, and then LBJ could talk about Jumbo and order pants, talk about his crotch and his bunghole and all that. You know,
Yep. Well, I think we've gone through all the topics for today.
I think you want to talk about some stuff in Hazard too. I believe.
Oh, what was it?
I think it was Sheriff Engel.
Oh, yes, Mr. Ingalls. I guess this will be real quick, but it's very interesting. So he essentially was running for county judge executive, which is Scott Alexander's position. And he made that announcement, his intention to run at least a couple days ago. And well, today he says, it's come to my attention that something's going on. I have to withdraw my intent. And so he says later on today that the reason he had to withdraw his intent to run is because someone came to him with a allegation against Scott Alexander of the office that there were some illegal activities going on. And so he has to withdraw in order to prevent conflict of interest. Now, my question is, why now? Why, when he says, I'm going to run for this, why do you say it now? That's what I'm wondering. If there is something going on, okay, good, you reported it. If there isn't something going on, what is that about?
That's true. And you had one more topic, I think, right? Or are you still talking?
Well, I mean, there's nothing really much to say about sheriff until something else comes out.
Yeah, this is awesome. So you said atom renewable energy. That was another thing you wanted.
Yeah, so something's going on, guys. So in downtown Hazard, they have like this turf. It's Thursdays on the Grand they do over there, whatever. It's like a piece of turf. Well, behind where that lot is used to sit the Grand Hotel. It's a big building that burnt down, right? And so they're announcing something in October, and this is my prediction. This is my prediction. They're going to use the property that's behind that, right, where the Grand Hotel was at, and that lot's right. That's right there. I think it's called Newberry Lot, something like that. And they're going to make it into the recreation thing that they've all been wanting to do. And I can't really talk about the stuff, but it's a very funny and strange situation on to how the city obtained that property. And the city has a weird history with properties. There's one property I can't remember which exactly. I'll have to remember what the name of it was. But it's like they sold it, or they bought it real cheap, and then they sold it, and then they were donated it back, and then they sold it again. I don't know. They got some weird shit going on with that. The city has a strange history of things like this, of obtaining properties in various ways that may not be particularly of the law,
Yeah,
But
particularly legal.
yes,
Particularly
but of course,
nice.
this is all just speculative and things like that.
And you
But
can't
it,
sue us.
you cannot sue us.
And
No
we're
one is.
not suicidal either. That's another one.
Yeah, I'm not suicidal.
Yeah, yeah,
I
dude.
don't
Sheriff Engel is going to get you,
driving.
buddy. You better watch out.
Oh yeah, dude. Look, guys, if I ever go end up missing, come back to this podcast and it's right here. Look, my prediction is October. They're gonna be like, "Yo, we're building out here on our new recreation," and
Hmm.
also they might silence me. They might end up missing. If I end up
Yeah,
missing,
Mobilini is going to have you underneath the new project.
yeah, man, Mobile Lean, you gotta have to go knock on his office and ask about me.
Hmm. Well, I think that's pretty much it for us. I mean, for the most part, we've got all of our topics out the way. I mean,
Mhm.
I think we can conclude this with a little quote from Donald Trump, and he says, "Who's doing the raping, Don? Who's doing the raping? Somebody's doing the raping."
This is him talking to Don Lemon, by the way.
Don Lemon, 2015, 2015. Yeah, I think that's a good quote to end it off on. Inspirational. And
Very inspirational. Just let that one
if
sit
you
on
if
you,
you
Dad.
if you really want something to look into, listen to Trump actually talk. Like actually listen to his speeches. Start to realize he's saying a lot of nonsense most of the time. It's just kind of
Oh, the dogs.
The dogs were beautiful. They walked around the park.
And I went to the river, and the river it was very green. I said, "Why is it so green?" And the president of Uganda, he looked at me and he said, "Well, because there's alligators in there." Or that kind of thing. It'll spiral off, and we wonder why he talked. And he said so many things about Joe Biden. Hey, he's been talking like this since 2015. At least Joe Biden was saying, "And that's why we're number one. We're America. We are the finishing line," or whatever. He
And
was
then he's
saying
like,
that stuff.
and then he had to remember, but he got it.
Yeah, and then Donald Trump's like, "Well, there's 20 billion Guatemalans, and they're attacking the Capitol,
They're right here. They're at my doorstep. Send
and
help.
they want me in my bosom."
Oh dear. Dude, if we end up missing, Donald Trump might be the one.
He might be the one. His small hands came and grabbed us out of our house. All right.
Yeah, JD Vance was a critic, man, until Israel started paying him.
Yeah, this is true. Well, I think that's all. We're local to local.
Goodbye.